Nothing over yours.
Good morning. This is Judge Alyssa Perez presiding over the 210 District Court criminal docket for June 20th, 2023. All matters being heard today are being heard in accordance with all emergency orders and directives regarding COVID-19. In addition to that, we are streaming all matters live via YouTube for public viewing. Marufo, would you call our next case, please?
Yes, Judge, in towards the bottom of page 10, Judge, in cause number 2022 0D05021, State of Texas versus Maya Melot. Announcement of council, please.
David Vandenberg on behalf of the state.
Mr. Darnell, are you there?
He was on earlier, I saw.
Sorry. Yes, I'm here. Who am I here on?
Maya Maluit?
Maya Melwat. I am
Maluat.
here
Right.
and ready for Maya Melwat.
Are we going to trial on Friday?
No, Your Honor, I am scheduled to be in Washington, D.C. on a sentencing on one of the January 6th cases. And she's in the Army and is from, I believe, Guam or one of the islands near Guam. And they have sent her home on cultural leave to have her child. I don't know how that works. That's the first I've heard of it, but that's what's happened.
Okay, what's the rec, Mr. Vandenberg?
The rec is 2 deferred, no contact with CW, 200 hours of community service, $1,000 fine, standard terms of conditions, and may not possess any weapons.
Had you had that offer, Mr. Darnell?
Yes, that's
Yes.
sort of the problem because of her being a soldier.
Okay, so I don't see Odyssey is now popped up, so take advantage of it. I don't see any motions. This is a first setting. If you would please file your motion for continuance and we'll get you reset for the 17th of November.
Okay,
Mr. Vandenberg, what's the state's position on the continuance?
Not opposed, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Darnell, if you'll just file it, please, and we'll get you reset.
I will. Thank you, Your Honor.
I will let everybody know we have had so many issues with Odyssey over the past month. I know the state has probably seen those. So bear with us. It goes down frequently in terms of getting your settings. Okay, just bear with us. Thank you very much. Who's next?
Bottom of page 9, Judge, in cause number 2022 0D05151, State of Texas versus David Alexander Tosad. Announcement of council, please.
David Vandenberg on behalf of the state.
Good morning, Judge John Williams on behalf of David Dosal.
Mr. Marufo, did Mr. Dozal check in?
Not today, Judge.
Did he check in on Friday?
No, Judge.
Is he on what, surety bond? Where's your client, Mr. Williams?
You know, I don't know, Judge. I'll get with him. His phone is disconnected, but we were emailing on Friday, so I'm not sure what has happened. He's been very good and keeping in contact with me. He does have some mental illness and some difficulties there.
Mr. Marufo, is there anyone outside the courtroom?
I will check, Judge.
Mr. Vandenberg, what's the rec?
The rec on this one. I'd say that I think the parties are close to a resolution on this one, Your Honor.
My question is, what's the rec?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm pulling it up right now. The rec is 5 deferred, BIP, $2,500 fine, 200 hours of community service, no contact with CW, BA, UAs, and standard terms of conditions.
Mr. Williams, does your client know what the rec is?
This was a recent rec, Judge. I can't remember whether we specifically talked about that or not. Mr. Vandenberg and I had discussed this case via email. That was the last official rec The problem the state has is that the complaining witness is incarcerated and is incompetent.
Okay, but what, is your client aware of any wreck?
He was aware of the time wreck, Judge. He was aware. We did talk, now that I think about it, we did talk about them having reduced it to probation.
Was he out there, Mr. Marufo?
No, Judge, no answer to it, Mr. Rosado.
Okay, I'm gonna pull his bond if he doesn't show up by noon.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Are you, so I'm assuming you're not ready for trial, Mr. Williams?
I'm not, Judge. I had told Mr. Vandenberg that I would agree to a joint continuance on this one, but I am hoping that maybe they'll look at it a little closer, because otherwise I'm going to have to give you a whole lot of orders for protected health information from EHN, El Paso Behavioral. It turns out from her incarcerated case that she's got pending CPS activity. And so there's just a whole lot of things that I've discovered recently that I'm going to need a whole lot of records on.
So Mr. Vandenberg, was that already taken into consideration on the deferred rec?
Yes, it was, Your Honor. And I would say that without contact with the defendant, that's the predicate to moving forward on anything, Your Honor.
Okay, so if I have you all set for trial on Friday, if someone's asking for a continuance, you need to have your continuance filed today indicating whether either the opposing side is unopposed. If not, we'll get you your jury sheets.
Okay.
All right, anything else?
No, Your Honor. Can I be excused? I'll have him check in, and Mr. Vandenberg, if you'll send me an email.
I sure will.
Thank you. Who's next?
Thank you.
Up on page 11, Judge,
What page?
page 11,
What?
in cause number 2022-0D05791, State of Texas versus Nolan Montellano. Announcement of council, please.
David Vandenberg on behalf of the state, substituting for Eliana Elizada.
And Judge, I believe that's me, Daniel Aguilar for Nolan Montellano, Your Honor. Good morning,
Yes.
Judge.
Good morning. Is Mr. Montellano in the waiting room?
We don't believe so, Your Honor.
No, Judge.
No, so that Samsung isn't him? The
No,
iPhone isn't him?
no, Judge. Those are somebody who was gonna check in this morning.
And we do have a motion to withdraw on that one, Judge.
I saw that, and I want to make sure we have Mr. Montellano. Was he aware of today's hearing?
I don't know that he was. But we're pretty good at notifying them. I can't say for certain, Judge.
All right, look at your records and let me know if you let him know of today's
Yes.
hearing.
I'll be back.
He's also set for a final judges conference. Did he check in?
No, Judge.
All right, it is not one of the PR reports that I received. So while you check that, Mr. Aguilar, we're going to come back to you on this one. I want to see if he's been checking in with PR. He did not check in with court. Okay, next.
Staying on page 11, Judge. In cause number 2022-0D00563, State of Texas versus Juan Angel Ramirez. Announcement of council, please.
Who's handling this case?
It's not the,
Ms. King.
it's not me or Miss Elizada for this one, Your Honor. It's with the homicide unit.
Is this Balvanera? I'm sorry.
No, it's Ramirez.
Oh,
Ramirez.
okay. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Good morning.
Probably Miss King. Good morning, Miss King. This is on Ramirez. May I have announcements, please?
Good morning.
Roa King for the state. Good morning, Your Honor. State is ready.
Good morning, Your Honor. Omar Carmona and Denise Butterworth on behalf of Mr. Ramirez. We are ready, Your Honor.
And we're set for a final judges conference. We have gone past 2 defense motions for continuance and need to set this for trial. Have you all discussed a trial date?
We were hoping, Your Honor, if September were available to you sometime in the fall, we would be amenable. We would have dates open, Your Honor.
What dates are those?
Just the fall.
I think we're available all of September if the court has availability.
Ms. King, are there any issues with any of your witnesses or anything for September?
No, Your Honor. I'm actually just checking the September. No, that should be a good month.
So with the Odyssey issues right now, we're not able to double check. Maybe Ms. King with you here, you're kind of a special setting resource. I'm thinking the 15th of September.
I don't see anything on the calendar, Your Honor. That should be available.
The only downside that I can see right now, knowing that Odyssey is down, so I can't cross-check everything, is that jury selection will be in the courtroom. So I have Thursday and Friday, unless you all would be open. Let me see. To maybe starting on the 13th, if I can get Commissioner's Court.
That works with me.
I think we're good as well.
Okay, so let's put all of these dates down. Let me see, September 13th. For now, I'm going to say September 13th through 15th jury selection, because in the event we cannot secure Commissioner's Court, we're going to have to use, which I'd rather not use the piecemeal jury selection, but if we have to, we have to. Mr. Marufo, that means we need to coordinate with jury hall to see if we can, if we're far out enough to where the jurors Victor gets for Thursday and Friday, if number 1, Commissioner's Court is available, and number 2, if we can have, that will probably be 60, that'd probably be 240. I think I want to cap it at 200, because even in Commissioner's Court, although there's capacity, it's somewhat difficult to manage, I think, once we go beyond 200. It's a lot of business. Okay, I will also just say that because we can't cross-check this, we may have to change the date. We may have to change the date if once we have access to the calendar, it's not workable. But I think it should work. Okay. Also, we'll have a final judges conference August 22nd at 3 p.m.
22nd, Judge?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right, at 3 p.m. Oh, no, your client's not in custody. Sorry. We'll do it at the regular time. We'll do it at 10 o'clock. I forget that this one is not in custody. All right. Anything else? Anything outstanding?
Your Honor, did Mr. Marufo have him as checked in? Because he called me yesterday. Obviously, it was a holiday. I was just checking to see if he was checked in.
He logged in this morning and
Okay.
then he logged off, but he was
Thank
here.
you.
Thank you. Anything else?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you very much. You all are excused.
Thank you, Judge.
Who's next?
Judge, Mr. Montellano is here.
Okay, let's go back to that one. We're back on the record in cause number 2022-0D05791, State of Texas versus Nolan Montellano. May I have announcements again, please?
David Vandenberg on behalf of the state.
Daniel Avalar for Nolan Montellano, Your Honor.
And did Mr. Montellano log in?
I thought he did.
Brother, man. Oh.
Mr. Montellano, are you there? There you are. Okay, are you connected to audio, Mr. Montellano? No. Mr. Montellano, can you hear me? Okay, I see that you're muted. Thank you for logging in this morning. I asked that you be here because Mr. Avalar and his firm has a motion to withdraw on your case. You are set for a hearing on that motion to withdraw as well as a final judge's conference. Mr. Avalar, you can go ahead.
Thank you, Judge, and good morning, Your Honor. With respect to the final judges conference, we wouldn't be, well, it's not a final hearing plea deadline, but in any event, we are filing a motion to withdraw that we're asking the court to grant. The grounds for that motion, Judge, is a failure to comply with a contractual obligation, Judge. We're respectfully requesting the court to grant that order.
Mr. Avalar, so I know, can you tell me what the jury trial and final hearing plea deadline dates are?
Judge, I don't have those dates.
Actually, I wrote it down. I have us down for trial July 14th, Mr. Montellano. So that means that the final hearing plea deadline, July 11th. Mr. Vandenberg, what's the rec in this case?
It is 5 TDC, Your Honor.
Oh, okay. So, Mr. Montellano, what Mr. Avalar is explaining is that his firm has filed a motion to withdraw based on some contractual obligation that has not been fulfilled with their office. I do not know, and I do not have access to the system right now to see if you had qualified for a court-appointed attorney at any point, but are you intending to either fix the relationship with the Underwood firm, or are you going to hire another attorney, or do you want to apply for a court-appointed attorney? And now you can unmute.
I plan on fixing it with them.
Mr. Avalar, I know we've had a situation like this probably recently, and I don't know if you all are inclined to entertain that. I'll hold off on filing the motion, but I will set it for 1 week out because I will not leave the motion outstanding beyond that. It's your call.
Yeah, Judge, I prefer sooner rather than later, just because, and the court's correct, we ran into that issue not too long ago, and the issue was fixed like at midnight. You know, it's one of those last minute things, and we'd appreciate it a little bit more of a heads up so that we can be prepared.
Mr. Montellano, thank you, Mr. Avalar. Mr. Montellano, I am going to not rule today on the motion to withdraw, but understand that they are seeking to be removed from your case. Your options, if that were to happen, is obviously you could go and try and hire another attorney. If you have a financial need, we can certainly do an application, but for you to get a court-appointed attorney. But understand you have to qualify, number one. Number two, trial date is in less than a month. So what I'm telling you is, I don't know, the state's offer right now is 5 years in TDC in prison. And so it's imperative that you either fix this in some way. Another thing is, I think it's very likely that if you swapped attorneys, either hired someone else or we got you a court-appointed attorney, the court, unless the attorney is telling me something different, would need time to prepare. You know, I don't know how complicated the case is, but certainly if someone new comes on board, it's unlikely that that July 14th trial date would go forward, especially if counsel is indicating that they would need more time to prepare. Okay. Is this a first setting, Mr. Evans?
I believe it is.
Something else.
Yeah, it's a first setting, Your Honor.
Also, he's on PR bond. I also don't have a report on him.
There's a PR bond. Is that the report you're referring to, Your Honor?
I don't have one on him, so I'm requesting one. All right, Mr. Montellano, Mr. Avalar, go ahead and stick around just for a minute. I'm going to see if I can get a report from PR. Myrna, maybe you can give them a heads up over there. Cesar Garcia is the one who provided the reports, but I'm missing several. So,
Okay.
all right, Mr. Montellano, don't leave yet, okay? We're going to come back to your case. Thank you, Mr. Avalar. Let's go to the next one.
Middle of page 9, Judge.
Mhm.
In cause number 2021-0D02527, State of Texas versus Roberto Avila. Announcement of council, please.
David Vandenberg on behalf of the state.
Good morning, Your Honor. Victor Serrano on behalf of Mr. Roberto Avila.
This is our trial, right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay.
The situation with this is the state has acquired new evidence, in particular text messages that we have not disclosed to Mr. Serrano yet. We just got them late last week and we haven't really reviewed them. So we need to disclose those and review them. So we would ask for a mutual continuance on this, Your Honor.
Your Honor, that is correct. Mr. Vandenberg and I spoke this morning in reference to this case, and we're asking the court to allow us to continue this case, Your Honor.
Any, Mr. Serrano, I think, isn't this one I moved back from like 2 weeks ago?
No, Judge, I believe this was,
This is a different one?
it's
Okay.
a different,
Okay.
No.
This one's a little bit older. Any heartburn, Mr. Serrano, if I put you on our regular trial settings, which are looking like November 17th?
no problem, Judge. We can certainly do that.
Okay, get your joint, whatever it is, joint continuance, whatever it is, get it filed. We will reset you for November 17th jury trial, November 14th final hearing plea deadline. I'm sorry, what was the rec in this case?
15 TDC.
Okay. Alrighty. All right, we'll get you reset. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Honor.
May I be
Who's-
excused? Judge?
You may.
Thank you.
Who's next?
Second on page 10, Judge.
Mhm.
In cause number 2022-0D05140, State of Texas versus Kavika Rashan Johnson. Announcement of council, please.
David Vandenberg on behalf of the state.
Is Mr. Ivy here?
He was here, Judge.
All right, let's go to the next one.
Judge, going back to page 2, bottom of page 2, Judge. In cause number 2022-0D01212, State of Texas versus Carlos Alberto Cifuentes. Announcement of council, please.
Good morning, Judge John Briggs and Rick Locke on behalf of the state, and the state is ready.
Good morning, Your Honor. Justin Underwood on behalf of Mr. Cifuentes. We are ready for this hearing as well, Judge.
And Mr. Cifuentes is in custody. We are set for a judges conference. Again, my apologies, gentlemen, but we have very intermittent use of Odyssey. When are you all set for trial?
Judge, I believe we're currently set in February. I think there's a February trial date.
Oh, so it's
Right.
way down the road. Okay, so how are we doing? What's the rec, Mr. Briggs?
Well, Judge, there currently isn't one. There have been a few wrecks that have been kicked around, and we made him an offer a couple of weeks ago, right before the trial date for the co-defendant, which he rejected. So at this point, there is not
Okay.
an offer from the state. And I've been in a little bit of contact with Mr. Underwood this morning. We may be looking at re-indicting this to actually be a capital murder charge for murder during the course of robbery.
Okay, so, and again, I am so sorry to ask these very basic questions. Do we have regular settings leading up to this February trial date? Because obviously, if we're going to have some movement, I'm going to want to come back and check in with you all.
Judge, I just looked, I didn't mean to cut you off, Judge. I'm so sorry. I just looked at I have a huge dry erase board in one of my rooms out here where I have all my massive major cases lined out. And it does look like we do have regular court dates between now and February. Mr. Briggs is correct. The state did approach us and offer us, make us what I thought was a very good offer. I did go speak with my client, I believe 3 times in a matter of 3 days, and he declined all of that. And so we are back to where we are now. But the last I checked on my giant board in there, yes, we do have hearings scheduled, Your Honor.
So my Odyssey is still scrolling, but the clerk is telling me our next setting is August 22nd. So that's a decent enough window for me to check in with you all. Myrna, what I would like to do, if it is not already the case, let me see, 8/22, that is a Tuesday. Let's move that to the 3 o'clock jail docket. He's been in, at least by the docket, 488 days. I want to make sure if there's any movement, especially a re-indictment, that we readdress this in his presence, okay?
And Judge, I'll probably try and get that re-indicted then before the August setting so that it's the new indictment is there. We can take care of an arraignment and
Right.
get moving on a new cause number.
And
Right.
I will ask for a PR bond too from the state since they're going to re-indict for capital murder.
Okay. It gives you a little bit of a window to work on things and see where we are. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Anything else?
No, ma'am, Judge, that's it. But there has been conversations. It just didn't resolve over the advice of counsel. So there's that going on.
Well, we'll see what happens. See y'all in August. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Judge. Maybe excuse, Your Honor.
Yes, take care.
Thanks, Judge.
Who's next?
Back on page 10, Judge, second on page 10.
Thank you, Jasmine. Mhm.
In cause number 2022-0D05140, State of Texas versus Kavika Roshan Johnson. Announcement of council, please.
David Vandenberg on behalf of the state.
Mr. Ivy, your connection is very bad. Can you try that again? All right. Let's go to the next one.
Page 8, Judge.
Mhm.
In cause number 2021-0D00772 and 2022-0D00792 and 2022-0D00253 and 2021-0D01337, State of Texas versus Christopher Ray Alvarez. Announcement of council, please.
Good morning, Your Honor. David Vandenberg on behalf of the state.
Rick Huffman on behalf of Mr. Alvarez.
Mr. Huffman, you survived trial?
Well, Judge, not quite yet.
Oh, you're still in trial?
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
We start the punishment phase tomorrow. And Raphael's, he was supposed to try this case, Mr. Alvarez's case with me. We thought it'd be done last week, Judge. But we had a couple roadblocks and it's been taking a while.
So what are we gonna do? Because, well, let me ask, what's the rec on Mr. Alvarez?
Of the break.
At one point, Judge, it was probation. I don't know. I'm not sure if that's still the offer, but we had our opportunity for probation and my client turned it down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now, Your Honor.
It looks like, okay, so Jasmine, these motions for, so you filed motions for continuance, Mr. Huffman?
Just this morning, Judge.
Mm-hmm. You know, I don't want to assume we're not going to be at an agreement, but I kind of feel that because we've kind of been at trial for a minute, that we're going to be there. So I'm a little concerned. Obviously, I'm going to grant your continuances if, you know, they're your cases. So it's not like somebody's going to come in and handle them for you. But your client's in custody and, you know, special settings are real difficult to get right now. I'm sorry, what's the rec?
Your Honor, there is no rec on this anymore. It's a trial case.
Okay. All right. So, Mr. Huffman, I'm gonna set you for 1 week out. I'm gonna reset the final hearing plea deadline for 1 week out. I'm assuming there's no opposition to the motions for continuance.
No, Your Honor.
So I'm gonna reset you for 1 week out. But let me see. I don't know, and I don't have access to Odyssey to see if I can also give you that trial date, because I feel like I have something already, but I do want to have you at a final hearing plea deadline. As soon as I get access to Odyssey, I can be a little bit better informed. Are you ready to go to trial if we can on, Ali, we're probably going to need panels 29th and 30th. So I'll have to look at that.
Well, we did have our witnesses subpoenaed for this week. And they shouldn't be difficult to subpoena again for next week. But it's kind of, they're kind of hostile witnesses.
Okay.
So
I'm
I'm
gonna,
thinking maybe we can leave the the Thursday setting so that they can come in and we can reserve them Thursday morning.
there is no Thursday setting on this, is there?
I think it was set for June 22nd for the jury selection. So maybe we can keep that, and just so that we can have our witnesses resubpoenaed. But that, because in that case we'll be ready. But I think some of the state's witnesses are coming from out of town.
That's correct. And Your Honor, from the states. From the
So
states.
we need a secure trial date. We can't be having, if state's bringing in folks from out of town, we can't have, leave this setting and, see if I set you next week. Mr. Vandenberg, what's the status of your witnesses? I gotta assume they need
That is correct.
concrete notice, right?
That's correct. Mr. Huffman was there.
And Judge, I think that Miss Eliana, I just remembered.
She's right there.
July is not the first part of July. I think Miss Elizalde is going to be out. So she was asking for late July, the last week of July or August, if possible.
August 3rd or 4th.
If the court is so inclined.
Let me look at August. Of course, Odyssey is non-existent at this. So.
And also, Judge, I came in running when I was hearing about this hostile witness. Judge, I want to get a little more clarification on that, because I subpoenaed some witnesses as well. Who's hostile? Because they're all coming in.
No, we've got the Arzolas, we've got the just basically all of the witnesses. They didn't want to be subpoenaed. We had to wait outside their house. And
Mr. Huffman, let me just stop. I know Miss Elizalde wants to come in here and give you a hard time, but you're in trial, so we're going to cut it right there. I'm going to reset the final hearing plea deadline for 1 week. Hopefully we have Odyssey between now and next week, and we can constructively look at the calendar. I will look at August. Okay, I will look at August, and I feel like there's something at the end of July specially set, but I'm going to look at August. For now, we're going to reset for 1 week. Mr. Huffman, go do your punishment. I will look for your motions.
thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
State, also know if there's any issues in terms of availability with your witnesses. That goes for you too, Mr. Huffman, but that's where I'm looking. I think if we go beyond August, we're not going to find a special fit. All right. Okay.
Availability for August, Judge?
I don't know that because I don't have Odyssey, but nothing's ringing a bell offhand.
Okay, thank you.
Don't rely on my bell. Okay. Who's next? Thank you, Mr. Huffman. You have more, right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Who's next?
Middle of page 9, Judge. In cause number 2022 0D05160, State of Texas versus Jonathan Avila. Announcement of council, please.
David Vandenberg on behalf of the state.
Rick Huffman on behalf of Mr. Avila.
Final hearing plea deadline. What's a rec?
We have a rec of 5 straight probation.
Mr. Huffman?
Judge, that's a new offer. The state kind of cut their offer in half. So that is one where we definitely need to consider. I don't know, I think I did file a continuance. in this
Yes,
case.
clerk Jasmine is telling me that right now. And so do you want to reset this one? Mr. Avila is there.
Well, this one might be, I don't know if the court is doing the Thursday hearings.
I'm not going to, so let's do let's do this reset for 1 week. What I'll say is if your client is inclined to take the 5 years probation offer, then we can please circulate the plea papers, have that ready to go on Tuesday. We can do it in person.
Very well, Judge.
Okay,
Very good.
1 week. Thank you for appearing, Mr. Avila. Get with your attorney. He's very busy. He's in trial. Looks like he froze. Okay. Thank you. Next.
Staying on page 9, Judge. In cause number 2022-0D04965, State of Texas versus Brian Joseph Cardoza. Announcement of council, please.
Yes, sir.
David Vandenberg on behalf of the state, Your Honor.
Rick Huffman on behalf of Mr. Cardoso.
And for purposes of the record, Mr. Cardoso is appearing remotely as well. Final hearing plea deadline. Mr. Vandenberg, what's the rec?
We have an agreement and it's to AFV credit for time served, Your Honor.
And Judge, I spoke with my client this morning. We have agreed to that offer and we're just ready for the plea papers.
Okay, please circulate the plea papers. I am also going to reset this one for 1 week. That'll be Tuesday at 11 a.m. in person. Anticipating a plea, okay?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Cardoso. I'll go ahead and refer you to your attorney. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next.
Top of page 10, Judge.
Mhm.
In cause number 2022-0D05030, State of Texas versus Ron Jason Herrera. Announcement of council, please.
David Vandenberg on behalf of the state.
Rick Huffman on behalf of Mr. Herrera.
And Mr. Herrera is appearing remotely as well. We are scheduled for a final hearing plea deadline. What's the rec, Mr. Vandenberg?
The rec is a 5 deferred, no contact with CW, may not possess any weapons, 250 hours of community service, $1,000 fine, and would concurrent with 2022-0C05652.
All right, and Mr. Huffman, we did receive a motion for continuance on this one as well. Do we know, is there an agreement here? Looks like-
Yeah, we have not been able to work this out. I think this one will be a trial case.
Okay, so in that case, we're not going to reset for 1 week. What I'm going to do is put you on the regular setting. That's November 17th. Trial date. Was there any opposition to the defense motion for continuance, Mr. Vandenberg?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, so that will be granted. I'll go ahead and look for your orders. I'm going to remove your client. It looks like he's trying to connect to audio. All right, next.
Middle of page 10, Judge. In cause number 2022-0D05136, State of Texas versus Josue Marquez. Announcement of council, please.
David Vandenberg on behalf of the state.
Rick Huffman on behalf of Mr. Marquez.
Okay,
Your Honor,
what's the rec?
the state has sent plea papers to the defense counsel, Your Honor.
And I received those maybe last week or before that. I have not gotten them signed yet, but definitely will have them signed by next week, Judge.
I will reset it. Final hearing plea deadline for in-person final hearing plea deadline on Tuesday at 11 a.m. Did Mr. Marquez check in?
No, Judge.
I did speak to him last week. I can definitely get him to check in by noon.
Okay, thank you very much. Please do that. Next.
Bottom of page 10, Judge. In cause number 2022-0D05097, State of Texas versus Jesus Antonio Mendez Jr. Announcement of council, please.
David Vandenberg on behalf of the state.
Rick Huffman on behalf of Mr. Mendez.
All right, final hearing plea deadline. What's the rec? Your client is now in custody, I guess.
He is, Judge.
Mhm.
The rec is 3 TDC or 10 deferred TAP $2,000 fine, $2,000 fine, 250 hours of community service, UABA's curfew, no contact with the CWs or the incident location, a DW finding, and standard terms of conditions.
Mr. Huffman?
And Judge, I spoke to Miss Elizalde this morning, and I thought that the offer was reduced to 6 deferred, but I don't know if we were talking about so many cases. I think that was the off. I think I'd have to talk to Miss Elizalde, but I think this one will be a plea, Judge.
Okay, was there a motion filed on this one as well?
I don't believe I filed a motion, Judge. I figured we would just do the plea. After my conversation with Miss Elizalde.
All right.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to run over here and tell us about that 6 deferred?
If the state would allow me, I'll run over and ask her.
Sure. Let me see. Mr. Montellano and Mr. Avelar.
Yes, ma'am.
So I just wanted to make sure he is compliant with PR bond. So I am going to reset the motion to withdraw and I guess it was final judges conference for 1 week. That's on Mr. Montellano.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Montellano, you need to get in touch with your attorneys and see if you can square that away. If you cannot, if you intend to hire another attorney, I'll need to know that by next week. We're going to do it the same way we're doing it right now, 10 a.m. on Zoom. And if you need to do an application, you need to let us know so we can get the folks over here to take your application, okay? All right, thank you very much. You all are excused. Thank you, Mr. Avelar.
Thank you.
Your Honor,
Yes, sir.
getting back to Jesus Mendez, 6 deferred is accepted.
All right, Mr. Huffman.
So if we could have just a reset, so Tuesday, and I will run out to the annex and we'll have that plea paperwork signed and ready to go.
Okay, so on Jesus Mendez, we're going to reset for 1 week at 3 p.m. Please send over the plea paperwork, Mr. Vandenberg.
Is that going to be, excuse me, is that going to be virtual from the annex?
As long as you all are in agreement.
Yeah.
Okey doke. 1 week at 3 p.m. If your client changes his mind, wants it in person, you got to let us know so we can make arrangements to have him transported.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, who's next?
Towards the bottom of page 11, Judge.
Mhm.
In cause number 2022-0D05068, State of Texas versus Cesar Ramos. Announcement of council, please.
David Vandenberg on behalf of the state.
Rick Huffman on behalf of Cesar Ramos.
All right, final hearing plea deadline. What's the rec?
The rec is 10 deferred TAP, $3,000 fine, 300 hours of community service, UABA's curfew, no contact with CWs, and standard terms and conditions.
And Your Honor, my client has not decided on whether or not he wants to take the probation or if he wants to do 2 years in TDC. I didn't talk to him last week, so I need to confirm that, but it's going to be a plea. It's going to be the probation or the prison time.
Where is Mr. Ramos? Is he in the waiting room?
No, Judge.
Did he check in?
No, Judge.
He has been in contact with me. I did speak to him recently. But I will definitely have him check in by noon.
I think I had a good PR report on him. He reported on the 13th and he's reporting. Oh, yeah, you need to get him in today.
Okay.
Mr. Huffman. Okay, Mr. Marufo, if he doesn't check in by today, let me know so we can request the violation notice from PR Bond.
Yes, Judge.
All right. What do you want to do, Mr. Huffman? You want to reset for 1 week? Is that what you're telling me?
That's correct, Judge.
Okay, 1 week, Tuesday, 11 a.m. Final hearing plea deadline. Anticipating a plea. Circulate the plea paperwork, Mr. Vandenberg. Who's
Yes,
next?
Bottom of page 11, Judge. In cause
Huh?
number 2022-0D05043, State of Texas versus Luis Fernando Santibáñez. Announcement of council, please.
David Vandenberg on behalf of the state.
Rick Huffman on behalf of Mr. Santibáñez.
What's the rec?
It's 20 days on 1244B, Your Honor.
And
That's not,
I'd spoken to Miss Elizalde.
that might be incorrect for the rec. Let me look it up again. Oh, okay. Go ahead, please.
I'd spoken to Miss Elizalde this morning, and I believe she has agreed to cut that in half to 10 days in jail. Now, I need to speak to Mr.
It's 10
Santibáñez.
days, not 20.
So I need to speak to Mr. Santibáñez, but I anticipate that we will be able to resolve this one. Is Mr. Santibáñez here?
No, sir.
No.
Did he check in?
No, Judge.
Go see if he's outside the court.
Yes, Judge.
I spoke to him very recently. And Judge, he's had good contact, so those three guys, the Santibáñez, and Ramos I'll have them check in. I'll get on that as soon as we're done here, Judge.
Okay.
He's also very young but he has had contact with me.
He has until the end of the day. Is this one, does he have the credit on that, Mr. Huffman?
No, Judge.
No, so he's gonna have to go in.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So I'll reset the final hearing plea deadline for 1 week, 11 a.m. Anticipating a plea. You may get in touch with him, let him know he's going to turn himself in that day. But if he's not here, I'm going to pull his bond. Is he out there?
Nobody out there, Judge.
You called his name?
Yes, Judge.
All right, Mr. Huffman, get on that, please.
Sure.
We'll set it for 1 week at 11 in person. All right, who's next?
Top of page 12, Judge.
Mhm.
In cause number 2022-0D05025, State of Texas versus Crystal Sierra. Announcement of council, please.
David Vandenberg on behalf of the state.
Rick Huffman on behalf of Miss Sierra.
Final hearing plea deadline. What's the rec?
We don't have a rec right now. There are new cases that she has acquired. And we want to make sure we're aware of what she has before we make a rec on this, Your Honor.
What are the new allegations?
Judge, we have a theft, actually 2 thefts, one state jail, and one a 3rd degree. We also have a credit card abuse. Those are P files.
Okay.
And then another theft, that's a state jail. And then we've got, that one's also unfiled. Then we have 3 credit card abuse, a fraud, possessing fraudulent information. And we've got a possession over 4 grams, unfiled. Those are all unfiled.
Mr. Huffman, I see a motion, or I'm being told a motion for continuance was filed on this case. Did you file a motion?
Yes, Judge.
Okay, any opposition to that, Mr. Vandenberg?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and grant the defense motion for continuance. We're going to get you reset on the new trial track. I know she's in custody, so new trial track means 11/17, November 17. That'll get you new settings, give us time to see what all comes in terms of the new cases, and then you can file your bond request, all those kinds of things.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay, next.
Second on page 10, Judge.
Uh-huh.
In cause number 2022 0D05140, State of Texas versus Kavika Rashawn Johnson. Announcement of council, please.
David Vandenberg on behalf of the state.
Ben Ivy for Kavika Johnson.
Final hearing plea deadline, what's the rec?
It's two deferred, standard terms and conditions, and the defendant may not go to establishments that serve alcohol.
Okay, Mr. Ivy?
Judge, I did file a motion for continuance. There's a couple of issues. My client is on a scholarship and we're waiting for verification to see if he takes the two deferred, if he will be kicked off of his scholarship.
Okay.
Another issue is the CW. We're trying to figure out if he actually really is a licensed security officer.
Got it.
I believe Ms. Elizondo said she was going to try to find out the last time we had a hearing, but I don't see anything in the discovery that shows that.
Did Ms. Johnson check in?
No, Judge.
Where's your client? Is she in the waiting room?
I don't see her,
No, Judge.
but let me can I call my office and make sure she gets in, Judge?
She has till the end of the day to check in. Mr. Marufo, please go verify she's not outside the courtroom.
Yes, Judge.
Mr. Ivy, if she's here, we'll have her checked in. If not, make sure she checks in by the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And
Thank
the
you.
motion is granted. All right,
Thank
so
you.
we're going to reset that one, Myrna, for November 17th. Okay, who's next? Oh, he's not here.
Coming back. Yes.
Yeah. Hold on. I think I can figure it out. Oh no, Ivan Sustaita, Mr. Vandenberg, Mr. Solis is in trial. What's the rec in that case?
And this is 2022.
5004. Uh-huh.
Yes, ma'am. Dismissed for a plea to 2022 0C01975. It's a DWI. He also has a pending P file for AFV.
He's in trial on a murder, Myrna, is that right? Did I read that email correctly? Mr. Solis?
Judge, I'm not sure if it's a murder. I can call and find out.
Mr. Marufo, just a heads up, I'm scheduled to start jury selection on a murder case today. Okay, so I think we don't do the regular 1 week reset. We can do a 2-week reset on Sustaita. I don't know, did anyone verify if he filed a motion? Mr. Vandenberg, are you able to see in your settings or Jasmine?
I will look for it here, Your Honor.
What were you gonna say, Mr. Marufo?
I didn't check, Judge, on once I got the email, Alyssa didn't let me go in.
Okay, Jasmine, he did file a motion. Okay, so Miss Jasmine, since you seem to be the magic one with the access, are you able to see in there if there is a time request? I don't think this individual, like, is he saying a reset of 30 days or anything like that?
I'm checking for you, Judge.
Thank you. In any event, 5004 will be reset. Defense motion for continuance is granted. My thought is we're going to reset it for that November setting, Myrna, because the agreement is for the client to plea on a misdemeanor. Is the misdemeanor already set for a plea? Mr. Vandenberg?
I'm looking, what is things? Let me find out, Your Honor.
Mhm.
I don't see any time frame on the motion to continue, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you.
Judge?
Yes.
So when he filed the motion for continuance, it was because he was prepping for the Jesse Hall trial that already went. So he did not file like a motion for continuance for this setting.
What's being tried right now? What is it?
I'm not sure what case he's trying right now. I think he has a plea maybe at the 34th with I know one of his clients has a plea over there. So maybe he's handling that.
Mm. Okay, so let's hold off on this one. Well, in any event, he filed the motion for continuance. Well, let me see. Myrna, can you call over then to the 384th and see if he's in trial or if he's at a plea? If not, maybe he can get here.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay, we'll come back to Sustaita. Who's next?
Top of page 9, Judge.
Mhm.
In cause number 2022-0D04980 and 2022-0D04688, State of Texas versus Jesse Arroyos. Announcement of council, please.
David Vandenberg on behalf of the state.
Brent Stevens for Mr. Arroyos.
Final hearing plea deadline. What's the rec?
Well, Your Honor, we have an agreement on this. I just have to get the plea paperwork over to Mr. Stevens.
What's the rec?
It's 5 years straight probation, BHRTC, TAP, UABA, $3,000 fine, probate 3,000, 300 hours of community service, curfew, court costs, and STC. I'm not, what is STC, David?
Standard terms and conditions,
Oh,
maybe.
yeah, there you go. That's it.
Oh, yeah, but he's not in custody, Mr. Stevens.
No, Your Honor. And for BHRTC,
Uh-huh.
my client is requesting a little time before he turns himself in. I explained to him he'll probably have to sit in the county until a bed space is available. He's in agreement with that, but he is asking for a little time, maybe like 2 weeks. And then also, I was hoping maybe we could get him on the waiting list in the meantime so that he won't have to wait so long in the county.
Carla, I gotta think that I feel like I've been told in the past that's not doable, like the body has to actually be there. Has something changed?
Good morning, Your Honor. No, that's correct, Judge. The defendant needs to be in custody in order to be placed on the waiting list.
Mr. Stevens, with that in mind, I don't have an issue if you want to reset for 30 days, understanding if you'll get us the plea paperwork that he signs off on, all that kind of business. I don't have a problem resetting that plea to actually happen in 30 days if what your client is asking for is time, but he will be required at the time of plea to turn himself in.
Sure. I think that'll be acceptable, Judge, so we'll do that.
Okay, as soon as we get your plea paperwork, we'll get you reset. What are we looking at? Let's just go for that. Well, I don't want to put it on a Thursday in case we have trial. Let's do it on the 18th, July 18th. And that'll be at 11 a.m. Planning to turn himself in for BHRTC. Okay. If something happens in the interim, Mr. Stevens, if this for some reason falls apart, please let us know so we can come back sooner.
I will.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, who's next?
Those are it for the final plea deadlines, Judge.